Today we have two different plot leaks for the Marvels. The first one is much shorter and comes from 4chan, and the second longer one comes from the mods over at the Marvel Studios spoiler subreddit. Now take these both with a grain of salt given the sources, especially the one from 4chan, but the one coming from the Marvel Studios Reddit was verified, so do with that information as you will, as they too don't have the best track record. Anyways, the 4chan plot leak starts by saying, the movie has a colorful, lighthearted tone and a strong musical element similar to the Guardians of the Galaxy films. The movie is strongly tied with Secret Invasion, with the villains framing the Skrulls for a series of attacks on the Kree Empire to advance their goals. The main villain is General Eldam, played by Zawe Ashton, who leads a rogue faction of genetically enhanced Kree and needs the Negabands to activate their powers. In earlier drafts of the script, Eldam was a geneticist who used moonstones to enhance her followers. It's unclear if that element is still present in the film. Carol Danvers finds one of the bands and Kamala Khan has the other, which causes the two and Monica Rambeau to randomly switch places as seen in the Ms. Marvel post-credits scene. Carol is more playful and roguish in the film, contrasting the serious Monica and the naive Kamala. At one point, the girls hide on planet Aladna, where people communicate through song and dance. Park Seo-joon plays Prince Yan, who has a crush on Carol and helps them after Carol promises to marry him. There, the girls bond, train with their powers, and get their new suits. This segment features numerous musical sequences. Carol and Eldam reportedly have a Killing Eve dynamic, an intense rivalry with a hint of sexual tension. Due to her power to manipulate different forms of energy, Monica is pivotal to synchronizing hers, Carol's, and Kamala's powers to achieve binary form. Maria Rambeau appears in flashbacks, and the movie explores Monica's resentment over Carol leaving them behind when she was a child. Nick Fury, Valkyrie, and Kamala's family have small roles in the film. And the leak coming from Reddit starts with Zawe Ashton's character is named Dar-Benn, so immediately there's some inconsistency. I didn't see any sexual tension between her and Carol, which believe me, I was looking for. Comments are made about how Carol is obsessed with Dar-Benn, but it's made clear that it's because Carol doesn't trust her. And it's also made very clear that Carol isn't wrong for mistrusting her. She's quite obviously the villain. Dar-Benn is the regular leader of the Kree, and there are no side factions or anything like that. In flashbacks, she witnesses Carol attacking the Supreme Intelligence, and that's her villain origin story. The Kree refer to Carol as the Annihilator or something very similar, but she doesn't like that name. Dar-Benn has one bangle and Kamala has the other. No idea how she has it, but she's using it to power a weapon, and she needs both bangles. There's a funny line where Dar-Benn demands to know how Kamala got such an ancient powerful artifact, and Kamala responds, "My grandma sent it to me in the mail." It wasn't explained in the rough cut that I saw, but almost immediately, Monica, Carol, and Kamala begin switching places every time they use their powers. Monica is working on Sword space station called the Peak with Nick Fury. Kamala is at home, and Carol is trying to sneak into a Kree-Skrull peace summit because she doesn't trust Dar-Benn, who is the leader of the Kree. Carol starts fighting Kree soldiers and then begins switching with Kamala and Monica, and the Kree soldiers start switching with her as well. So at one point, Carol is on the Peak with Fury while Kamala is at the Peace Summit, and Monica is fighting Kree soldiers in the Khan living room while the Khan family tries to hit them with brooms, fight them, and run around screaming. It's a very fun sequence. At the end, everyone, Fury included, ends up in the Khan living room except for Kamala. That ending scene in the Ms. Marvel show is a direct shot from the Marvels. Carol leaves the house and tries to fly off, but they switch again, and suddenly Kamala is falling out of the sky, and Fury tells Monica that she has to fly and save her. But Monica resists because she doesn't know how to control her flight yet. But Fury yells, "Come on, black girl magic," and Monica flies up to save Kamala. However, she loses control on the way down. Everyone is screaming, and at the last second, Monica and Carol switch, and Carol is able to stop before they hit the ground. Fury screams as they're dropping, and at the last second says, it's just Carol. Anyways, Carol, Monica, and Kamala go off to investigate Dar-Benn, sticking together because they can't control the switching every time they use their powers. It's really not explained except for some allusion to how their powers are all similar or variations of each other. They discover that Dar-Benn is using a new weapon to create unstable portals that steal the resources, including water, air, and sunlight of entire planets, and then she sends those resources to the destroyed Hala to rebuild it. So far, she destroyed one planet at the beginning of the film for its atmosphere, she destroys the second one at the Kree-Skrull peace talks, and then she goes after Aladna to steal their water. Carol has already been to Aladna and is reluctant to go back because she's the princess, married to Prince Yan in an accidental diplomatic mistake. Everyone on Aladna sings as a way of communicating. Bree sings, and she has a lovely voice, but it's an awful sequence. They realize the planet is Dar-Ben's next target and go there to get help fighting her, to protect the planet and stop her rampage. The girls bond well before this in a montage on Carol's ship on the way to Aladna. Monica helps Carol get used to working with Kamala, as Carol yelled at Kamala in an earlier sequence because Kamala froze up in a pivotal moment. Monica reminds Carol that Kamala isn't a soldier. And Monica and Carol also have conversations about how Carol left and never came back. All three kind of work through their issues, and it's later revealed that Carol did indeed come back and visit Maria more than once. Prince Yan doesn't have a crush on Carol. He and Carol are married, but Carol and Prince Yan seem to have a very platonic friendship and mutual respect. Nonetheless, Carol is very embarrassed about it and reluctant to visit Aladna. It's played off like she didn't understand the customs and accidentally got diplomatically married to the prince at some point in the past. The citizens of the planet worship her as the princess. Prince Yan himself is cool though, and it isn't played off as a goofy trope. But it is a very awkward sequence that goes on for entirely too long. Monica is weirded out by the whole situation, but Kamala is excited. Then Monica asks if Kamala is going to put this in her Captain Marvel fanfiction, and Kamala says yes. Anyways, Carol realizes that Dar-Ben is going after every planet Carol has ever called home in an act of revenge. And Earth is the last part of that plan. Meanwhile, Fury takes the Khan family up to the space station to keep them protected so he can monitor the situation from there. There's a side plot on the space station with Fury where some techs find weird eggs inside all the space station machinery. They're all really worried about some sort of alien attack, but the eggs hatch and it's revealed that they're all newborn Flerken kittens, and chaos ensues on the space station. Later, the space station is damaged by Dar-Ben when she attacks Earth in the climax. There aren't enough escape pods to get everyone off the station before it crashes, so Fury comes up with the idea of feeding everyone on the station to the Flerken kittens, then putting all the kittens in the escape pods and getting everyone to Earth safely that way. It's amusing and bizarre, and the whole film has this really weird tonal clash between a standard Marvel movie and something goofier like The Guardians. Monica and Carol go to Hala, and it's raining for the first time on the planet, and the surviving crew are celebrating because Dar-Ben brought atmosphere and water back to their planet. Carol realizes that the Annihilator name is accurate from their perspective. She destroyed their planet, and the survivors are struggling, and she's a great villain in their eyes. And she has a moral reckoning. Stopping Dar-Ben means destroying Hala all over again. But Monica gives her a little bit of a pep talk that basically amounts to, we can't save everyone. We have to let Hala be destroyed again. And Carol reaffirms her desire to stop Dar-Ben. In addition to Dar-Ben destroying planets, her creation of Portal makes the universe unstable, increasing the likelihood of an incursion, which is another reason they have to stop her. An incursion does happen in the climax, and Carol fights Dar-Ben while Monica and Kamala try to stop the incursion. Monica ends up flying through this tear in the universe and fixes it on the other side, but ends up stuck in that other universe. Now, since the first leak came from 4chan, there's probably a very small chance of it being real. But according to CineStealth, the second leak is a rough cut, pre-reshoots. There's stuff that was shot but isn't included in the final cut, stuff that will be changed, and stuff that's not yet shot. They also said that I heard months ago that Kree experimentation would be involved somehow. It's possible this was only a plot point earlier in the story process, but I was told very recently that Anson Mount would be boarding for reshoots, so it unfortunately seems like neither of these leaks are real. But even so, we will very likely see elements from the Reddit leak in the movie. And, if CineStealth is right, then it means that at the very least, Anson Mount, if not the Inhuman royal family, will appear in the film. But let me know what you guys think about all this. What do you think of the second plot leak? Would you be okay with us getting something similar to this when the movie actually comes out, or would you prefer we got something drastically different? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you will never miss another video. Thanks for watching, and remember to wash your hands and stay safe.